Jesse, can you understand us if we've got our masks on?
I hope so. Just try to make sure your mics are close to you. I would move them forward because oftentimes people forget because they're back there.
As close as I'll get.
That's probably good enough. Have a good meeting.
Thanks. Yeah. Welcome to the Providence City Planning Commission meeting. Tonight, Kathleen Elder, I'm the chair. And we have Rowan Cecil, Brian Marlowe, and Michael. Michael.
Yes, I mean, fortunately.
That's right. Oh, I'm sorry. We will have the Pledge of Allegiance, and Brian Marlowe will lead us. So if you'll all stand.
Please join with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I need to say also that Laura Banda is excused and Robert Perry is excused as well. I hope all of you had a chance to review the minutes from our last meeting. You have, I'll entertain a motion to approve or change or.
I move that we approve the minutes for September 9th, 2020.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We have public comment tonight. If anyone has any comments they want to make prior to our getting into the public hearing. No public comment? Okay. We'll close that portion of the meeting and go to our public hearing. Prior to making a recommendation on a proposed zone change for parcel number 02096. Oh, you're pointing your finger at me. You gotta wait till 6:10. Oh, we have 5 minutes. You sure nobody wants to comment? Can we go to administrative action? Yes. Okay, let's just move down the list. Item number 1 on the administrative action list, the Planning Commission will consider for approval the final plat for Alder Square Commercial Subdivision Phase 4, creating a 0.85 acre commercial lot in the general area of 74 South Highway 165. All of you know where this is? Between the car wash.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And the credit union. So they meet all of the standards for that area for what they're going to do. So I'll entertain a motion.
I would,
You need to recruit yourself from this.
I'm not voting.
I would make a motion that we accept and approve the final plat for the Alder Square Commercial Subdivision Phase 4.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion by. Okay, by Michael Fortune, second by Brian Marble. Scarlett, you have a.
So just a little quick teaching moment. When you do things as a land use authority, you need to reference the findings of fact and the conclusions.
We need to read those?
You don't necessarily have to read them because they're a matter of
Public record.
public record. They're in the agenda and that, but at least reference reference the staff report or something so that people know that that we did look at things.
Okay,
So my,
And where would we see those?
they're in your handouts. They're on the second list. They're out of order. They're down one.
oh, sorry.
It's Alder Square, final plat analysis, Alder Square.
I can quickly
Oh, there
summarize
it is. I see it now. So Scarlett, would you have us make the motion again? Or just,
I would just ask that you amend your motion to refer to the findings of fact, conclusions, and conditions. And I would ask that you would glance at those conditions really quickly and make sure there's not anything that you would, as a planning commission, would like to add. When we as staff put these things, together, we go quite a bit straight off the ordinance. But if you are looking at things and you feel like something's not really in harmony with the general plan or something, you want to make a comment about it, that would be the time to do that. But if you agree with everything as it's done, then just referring to it would be fine.
well, I would make my motion again that we accept.
You would amend your motion.
I would amend my motion to recognize the findings of fact as contained in the documentation from the staff, and also the conclusion of law and conditions, that those be recognized as a part of the motion for Alder Square Phase 4 final plat.
I'll second that again.
Okay, any further discussion? I need to interject here that I will refrain from voting as I have a financial interest in Alder Square. No comment, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. The next. It is okay. Let's go ahead with the public hearing then. Okay, prior to making a recommendation on a proposed zone change for parcel number 02-096-0054 from commercial general district to multifamily medium located in the general area at 50 North Gateway Drive, containing approximately 3.21 acres, the Planning Commission is holding a public hearing. The purpose of the public hearing is to provide an opportunity for anyone interested to comment on the proposal before action is taken. Persons wishing to comment on the proposed zone change may appear in person, email their comments, or text. By law, email comments are considered public record and will be shared with all parties involved, including the Planning Commission and the applicant. So, do we have anyone here to speak about this? I see a smiling face and a hand.
May I
Yes,
approach?
come here and tell us your name.
I would love to speak. My name is Ben Steele from Whitney, Idaho, and I'm with Visionary Homes representing the project. Is this part of the public hearing period? Are we done with the public hearing or?
No, it's a public. hearing.
Okay, you're just opening it up?
Right.
Well, yeah, I'm available to answer any questions that anybody has. I don't know. I think you had the option for people to email and to text. I don't know.
We did.
Okay.
Scarlett,
So yeah, if
do
there's
you want to hear
anything,
those?
I'll be more than happy. Yeah, I don't know if that makes
Just
more
stay
sense, but
Stay there.
more than happy to.
Scarlett, have we got?
I don't know
I was hoping we had some comment from the public, some suggestions, some. You know, every
I
set
did
of
not
eyes.
receive, I did not receive any email or text comments.
Okay.
Is there anybody here in the body?
Is there anyone else here to speak on this subject?
maybe the planning commission has some questions.
I think we covered
We
them
talked
all.
at length last time, I
We
remember. It
did.
was a good conversation. Anything, I unless the body has something, I do have something I want to clarify from last time.
Okay,
And I don't know if now's a good time to do that.
okay,
Is now a good time?
Sure.
Well, I went back through and listened to our meeting on YouTube. It's so nice to be able to just walk
It
around
is.
and listen to it. And a couple of times I used the word affordable housing. And I want to, if I can, retract those words, because I've since learned, I should have known this, but when I went to school, it wasn't called affordable housing. It was called low income housing. So affordable housing is kind of a term of art, I guess, in the industry. And it refers to housing that is affordable to the median income of the area, that's been adjusted for family and all this. And that's all going to be different from area to area, from city to city, from municipality to whatever. And so if I gave the impression that somehow this project was tied to affordable housing, which that's usually tied to some government program, some subsidy, that would be considered low income housing technically. So I want to make sure that I'm clear that way, that when I was using the term, it was more of a subjective way of using it, that we're trying to make it affordable. It was used in the context of first time home buyers. And so we're going to try to make this as affordable as we can, but it's not affordable housing as would be recognized at the end.
Okay.
So I apologize for that, but
An important point.
hopefully I've clarified it. I think that was it. Like if there's any questions from the body, the only thing I've done since last time is I've gone over and looked over those work live units that are on Second East. Knocked on the doors. Some of them are open and I'm able to go in. During the course of the last couple of weeks, I've had a chance to visit a couple of those facilities. One was Trichology. It's a beauty salon. They have 2 chairs and then they have kind of a little display where you can buy some items, very low key. The areas in there are about 450 square feet for their little retail. Trichology is leasing the unit from the owner, and the resident is leasing from the owner. They're not the same tenant. The other one that I looked at was Comfort Care, and that's a business that's actually using the entire space as their business, both floors. So I had never contemplated that scenario. I guess the upstairs is just used for storage, and then downstairs they have actually an office space. 2 nice young ladies there at the front desk, and it's more of a nursing, at-home nursing kind of a care facility, and they help facilitate that. The other ones so far look like they're just used as residences more than a business or a retail front or something of that nature. So I don't know. It sounds like it's pretty flexible because one of them had a ping pong table and a couch was all that was in that room. So anyway, that's what I've done. I asked a lot of questions from them. One of my main focuses was parking. How much parking do you see your customers needing? And of course, I've only been able to talk to these 2 people. But so far, the beauty salon said that they have 2 cars at the most. So they have 2 seats, so they'll have 2 people. Sometimes a third will come in intermittently to buy something or make an appointment.
is the
Because
residence parking behind?
No,
Residents can park behind.
they have a garage just like we would have in our units as well. What they don't have is a driveway envelope that you could also park on, which means to say you come out of their
There's no
driveway,
approach.
you're in the alleyway and you're blocking traffic, where we've drawn substantial driveways in front that could be loaded with parking as well.
I don't have any additional questions. Anyone else?
No, I don't have any more.
Just to be clear, this is the property just south of the LDS chapel.
Yes, yep, totally. It's 3.2 acres right there between there and the existing condos and townhomes that we're building right now.
And you're building are the units as well? Is that what you just said?
Yes,
You're
yes.
building the other ones?
Visionary Homes owns both. We would try to tie this project together. We mentioned earlier how that project came in under a high density.
Yeah.
I believe it was 18 units an acre, if I'm not mistaken. Sarah, correct me if I'm wrong. We're asking for 12 on this, and we're hoping that kind of alleviates some of what we're seeing as some of the concerns that are there of being a little bit tight. This is more dense than we thought it would be. And so we designed this to where there's a park immediately to the north of what's existing. You know, that little quad mini park, I don't know if you remember that. But there's going to be a nice little park right there that would help make it so it's not quite so dense. And of course, we're just
That's gonna be to the south.
well, no, this would be the south of the project, but to the north of what's existing.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And there was also some discussion about a trail coming through here.
Right.
You know, connecting
It
from
would
here.
connect.
Yes,
to
that would
both
connect
sides.
over to the other side. And so, so we feel like that's pretty important, that open space is there, and it's kind of changing that landscape a little bit. It's socializing that cost of that density, you know. But I'm excited about this project. I'm excited about this work-live component. I don't know if the council's had any thoughts or if they've heard anything from anybody in regards to that, but the more I ask about it, the more, if they haven't heard about it, they're really piqued. They really want to know more. And if they've already heard about it, they say, oh yeah, that makes sense. But where do I sign up to get one? You're only going to have 8. So, but of course, you know, I understand last time we were here that there has been business permits issued to people that are just in their homes without a retail front or signage to the street. So I guess any of these units could potentially have a professional business out of it. If you guys allow that. I think a lot of those uses are conditional. So they have to come in for a permit. A lot of potential, a lot of opportunity there, at least in my mind.
Okay, sounds good. Well,
Yes, yeah.
tonight was just a public hearing, and then it will come up again for tonight. We vote on it tonight.
Yeah, it would be nice if you guys would vote on it tonight. We'd like your recommendation. I think it may, is that how you work? And then the next week, your city council ends up meets. It's pretty slick. You guys do it that way. It's pretty efficient. But yeah, so if in that regard, maybe that changes your mind. Maybe you've got some additional questions and you want to look at it a little closer. I don't know.
So we do vote on it. Okay.
And it's odd, there's only 4 of you here. Usually have an alternate or
Yes.
something.
Well,
think
we
last
have
time
2
we-
members that are not, they weren't available
Yeah.
tonight, for whatever reason.
That's okay. We miss it.
Okay, so at this point, we'll close the public hearing. And we will go to the next item, which is for us to vote on this. So, tonight we'll consider for recommendation to the city council a proposed zone change for parcel number 02-096-0054 from commercial general district to multifamily medium located in the general area of 50 North Gateway Drive, containing approximately 3.21 acres. I'll entertain a motion.
As you described it all, what do we do if you just describe?
Okay, so we have a motion,
I'll second it.
Brian from Rowan Cecil, and a second from Brian Marvel. Any comments? Questions?
Again, this is a land use decision. It's a recommendation to city council, but the staff report does talk about conclusions. And one of the conclusions that I think needs to be recognized is that the property is currently zoned commercial general district. The general plan map future rezoning of existing districts and annexed area does not anticipate this property changing from commercial general district. So the general plan anticipated that this would stay commercial general district. I just think you should acknowledge that should you choose to recommend the change.
Okay,
Before you, I mean, you don't have to include it in your motion, but I just want to make sure that you know that.
okay, we were aware of that before, but it bears mentioning.
So that's where we would also reference the conclusions in that particular item that you have there.
Correct.
Findings. I think it's a good idea. I support the motion to change it. I think it will fit in well and still also have the potential for a unique type of commercial, light commercial.
If individuals should choose.
If they choose to do that.
Good building on the extension of what they've already done.
Yes.
But yet it doesn't continue the high density
Sorry.
that's to the north or to the south of that. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. We've done item number 1 under administrative action, so we'll go to item number 2. Planning Commission will consider for approval the preliminary plat for Ballard Springs, a 39 lot residential subdivision located in the general area.
Oh, yeah. I apologize. We did get it fixed. It's in the general area of 515 west, 500 south. And one thing that I want to make really clear, because I think there's been some confusion. When I say general area, that's because there's not an address assigned. And so I'm kind of making a best guess so that if somebody would to try and drive there, they would get to the general area. But that this is not the assigned address.
And the people on this commission generally know that property is the low property.
Yes. Well, no, this property was low property, but
Right.
it's been, the Champlins purchased it.
Right.
Sometime.
But it used to be low.
Right.
Okay, so,
Nick Porter is here, if you have any questions.
Okay.
for the developer.
do you have any comments? State your name.
Yeah, Nick Porter, Champlin Development. We did have this approved with a different design, but when we were putting numbers together on the infrastructure, it was just cost prohibitive. There's a low section on the low property. It's the southeast corner. We're now going to turn that into open space and kind of design around existing features of the land, so to speak. So that's what this change is all about.
Did it reduce the number of lots from originally?
No, this has been several iterations, and with each iteration that we came through, we lost lots. So we're down to 39 at this point.
I believe the left is 38.
You see 38 before, so did we get one extra on that?
39.
Yeah, so there's 39.
Well, one has to decide which one she wants.
We have had a ton of interest in this project, and we probably prematurely put it on our website a little too soon. And we thought the timeline would be something that it ended up not being. So we now got a bunch of slightly disgruntled people wanting to. Some of them have built in other areas, some of them have built with us, and there's still quite a few people that are just calling us all the time, wondering when they can take reservations. We've so far not taken any reservations, but we think this project will go really quick.
Scarlett, this is the preliminary. We're approving for the preliminary as we see it now, and then they'll come in with
With a final plan.
final and so forth.
Right, and some of the information will be more intensive in the final plat application, but the final plat itself will actually be less intensive because the final plat has notes on it, but as far as looking at the map itself, it's basically just showing you the lots, their measurements, and assigning parcel numbers to it as it's recorded. So it doesn't have all the detail that a preliminary plat does. But the landscaping plans and everything that you get, they'll, along with that packet, will be final plan. One thing to note on this is a planned unit development. So it has a few extra rules that a regular subdivision doesn't have. Part of the reason why it ended up taking them a little longer, well, and then we did get your second design through relatively quickly though, once you changed your mind.
Yeah, that's true.
So, it is a PUD, and so you do get to look at their landscaping and things like that they're going to do. Because of that, they are having private streets. So these streets are private streets; they're not public streets. That's also why they get to have them to a little bit different profile than our standard subdivision.
The streets are more narrow.
Correct.
Why would we want narrower streets?
The streets
People
themselves,
Providence, why would they want narrower streets?
the streets themselves aren't more narrow, like
Yeah.
the asphalt is not. But we don't have, I think we're showing sidewalk on one side, whereas your typical street cross section has park strip and sidewalk on both sides.
And is there no park strip?
There is,
Pavement is more narrow. It goes from 30 feet to 20, right? Of asphalt.
are we 210-foot travel lanes on this?
Uh-huh.
How wide is it?
I think it's 20. Would love to have it 30. If it's 30, then sounds great. I didn't think it ended that way.
Yeah, it shows 20-foot asphalt,
Okay, so yeah, the asphalt is.
35 feet with park strip, 31 without park strip. Sidewalk on one side.
Yeah, so are we 35 total? So,
Yes. with
Right
the park
away.
strips.
we went through some of the versions of this.
But I do believe that asphalt is 20 feet and our normal residential would be 30 feet. Our general plan would be 37, but it is allowed because it's a private and a PUD. They take care and maintain. So anyway,
The
So-
fire marshal, like, he's okay.
Yeah, fire marshal signed off on this. So to answer your question, why do we like them more narrow? Studies have shown that traffic actually goes slower the more narrow the road is. And so we actually think this is a safer design from that perspective. It gives it more of a quaint feel. Not everybody loves massive roads and right of ways. So I guess it comes down to personal preference that way. For some individuals, they would prefer something like this.
Tell us about the sidewalks. Why do you only want sidewalks on one side of the street? Not you. Why would somebody that buys one of these not want a sidewalk in front of their home?
So this clientele is, this is a 55 plus community. There's nobody under the age of 18 who permanently live here. So there's not like a ton of kids running around. We've got 15 of these projects throughout the valley. When you drive through them, they're kind of like ghost towns, so to speak. People are looking to live in more of a quiet area, and they're in a phase of life where they want to control as many things as possible, this being one of them. So this isn't like a hustle bustle area of the city where you need 2 sidewalks to manage people. Again, it's definitely more quaint. When you drive into it, you immediately realize you're not on a city road anymore and you're in a private neighborhood. And so the traffic's slower, the people are slower. And so the idea of walking across the street to get to the sidewalk, it's not a big deal.
How about parking?
We're talking about one side of the street parking only. There's actually no on-street parking. That makes our projects look really clean and organized. And there's not a bunch of junk in the street, or, you know, people aren't parking campers there all year or during the months you can. Whereas on a lot of city streets, as you drive through them, people have additional things that they can't necessarily fit in their space very well, so they just leave them out on the street. That is eliminated in our projects, and we each one of the homes is designed with a minimum of 3 additional parking spaces on the front of their property. So the situation that always gets brought up in these meetings, it seems like it's a scenario where you have 15 people over at your house, and what do they do for parking? And they do end up parking on the street, and it, you know, cars do need to go around that. That said, it hasn't been an issue in our other projects. We obviously sell these really quick. People aren't concerned about where their guests are going to park. I think on this one, where your city code requires us to have a lot more open space than other cities. Like if you take Logan, for example, we could fit way more units in here if we were building this exact thing in Logan. So we've got a bunch of additional open space. We have tossed around the idea of turning some of this into some parking. The struggle there is if you're parking in the southeast corner and say you live on lot 39, I don't think your guests are going to park there and walk a block. I think they're just going to park on the street. But it just hasn't been an issue in the past, so I'm not worried about it, I guess, from my perspective.
Yes. I'm curious about one thing. We have the roadway on the west side, goes up to the top of the property. But the vacant land to the north. So this is a narrow road. Is there anything that, Scarlett, is there anything that, would that road ever be something that goes through, that there would be heavier traffic? Since it's private, it's not going to be allowed to do that.
I can chime in on that a little bit. Scarlett can too. But there's actually on the next parcel to the north.
Yeah.
There's a is it Little Ballard Springs? Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
Little Ballard Springs runs from east to west on that entire thing, and so it is not feasible to push the road
Something
through
to go all
there.
the way through.
Yeah, at our last planning commission a long time ago, one of the gentlemen said they could do a bridge over that. I've run numbers on that, and there's no way that somebody's going to pay to put a bridge over that. Because that parcel is, I mean, it's a 5-acre parcel. We're actually trying to buy the south section of that. And I can't remember if we've got it under contract or not, but whoever is looking at that, maybe they've already come through Scarlett, but they are trying to rezone the north section of that to multifamily. And if they accomplish that, they're going to sell us the south half, and then I'm going to connect that road into a cul-de-sac and put more houses there.
With the same design.
Yeah.
The same feel.
Yeah, so when we drew it up this last time, we had the road stubbing to the west before, and now it's stubbed to the north. And that's so we can pick up that additional acreage if it becomes available.
Would that be the whole piece that goes to the highway?
We would only purchase the
North wouldn't go to the highway.
from Ballard Springs, Little Ballard Springs south.
Yeah.
And someone else would develop the piece that goes to 3rd south. If you're meaning the highway to the west.
Yeah, to the west, the highway to the west. We can
Okay,
pick up
so-
the whole piece.
Yeah, we don't show a
Ballard Springs.
We don't show a stub to the west.
Yeah.
500 south is going to connect over there. eventually, I guess.
Right,
Yes.
right. Okay, I was just curious about that.
Any further questions, comments?
But you talked about the
Speaking of the mic.
street asphalt. Is that gonna be concrete?
Yes, I,
That's, yeah, thank you for that clarification. We typically pour concrete, instead of asphalt on the roads. And that's what we are planning on doing here.
And my wife has a question for you. When, the townhomes are being built, a whole lot of dirt was hauled out. She said, why did you think that dirt was in that hole?
We could have used it,
I mean,
better coordination with visionary homes, I guess.
they took truckloads out of there.
To be able to build on it, it's actually not straightforward as just dumping a bunch of dirt there. There's a lot of engineering that goes into it.
I'm just gonna answer my wife's question.
Tell her it all comes down to money.
One thing to keep in mind, planning commission, since this is a planned unit development, it is private. The city has no maintenance responsibility in there on those, private roads. That will, a homeowners association, that's part of, before they go through the final plat. That's got to come in with their final plat, is the creation of their homeowners association, or the documents. So we'll create that and everything. So that's a little bit of, they have to build roads that will hold that will stand up to the emergency vehicles requirements, but as far as all of Providence City's road standards, since they are private and we are not maintaining them, that's why there's a little bit of a variance there.
Thank you.
any more questions? Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve the preliminary plat for the Dollar Springs 300 lot residential subdivision located in the general area 515 west, 500 south.
Do I have a second?
I would second that motion.
A motion by Roland Cecil and a second by Michael Fortune. Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. You're opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, so, yeah. So we have one nay, Brian Marble. Motion still passes. Okay. Item number 3, Planning Commission will consider for approval the preliminary plat for Shoreline Estates. It's a 63 lot residential subdivision located in the general area of
700 East Spring Creek Parkway.
Okay.
And we do have representatives from the development here. We have the design engineer and the owner.
Okay. So if you'd like to come forward and make your comments.
I'm Steve Earl of Castleton Mark Engineering. Here with the owner, Charlie Palmer, and his accountant, Paul Gibbons. So this is the property above Providence Hollow subdivision, just below Little Baldy. And it's the vacant property that's along Spring Creek Parkway in between the two projects. And as you mentioned, we're proposing 63 lot subdivision. We met with the city a few times and had a couple of private meetings with Max Pierce, city engineer, and Rob Stapley, and tried to address their concerns best we can. Proposing to do the project in 3 phases, with everything south of the Parkway in the first phase, 23 lots, and then the remainder of the project would be developed in 2 other phases. In the future. Welcome to entertain any questions.
Anybody have any questions?
I'm working on it.
Okay,
How many lots would be involved in the phase 1?
23,
with a total of 63, right?
correct.
What's the timeframe on it?
Phase 1, we would like to complete as quickly as possible, so there's lots for sale in the late spring. I don't think we really have a timeline for the north portion yet. It just depends on how phase 1 goes.
It's currently zoned. Single family.
It's actually got 2 parcel numbers, and the majority of it is single family traditional, but there is some that's single family large.
The first phase has both in it as well.
It does. Yeah, the single family large is the lots 5 through 8, which are the 4 lots furthest to the southeast of the project. And then everything else is under the single family traditional.
Where's your open space?
There is no open space.
There is none.
Uh,
Is this up against the deer fence?
It's just below it. You see the power lines right here, running the cursor across the screen, and the deer fence is just about that. Yeah. So there's a bunch of trees just below the power lines, kind of running in the corridor north and south, and the area we have shaded on there's non-buildable, non-buildable just west or right where your cursor is. Yeah, that's pretty much a wooded area, and so we're staying away for a few reasons. Number 1, because it's steep, and then number 2, because there are trees there. We just want to leave the trees alone.
You up against the mountain.
Yeah, right.
Any questions?
It's saying that you're going to vacate the
There's a
drainage.
Yeah, there's a stub road right there where the cursor's pointing on the west side of Spring Creek Parkway. And that's one of the things we've had discussions with Max Pierce and Rob Stapley about. So that road was stubbed out per code because for every 2 blocks you have to have a road stubbed out on the main on the roadway. So on that Spring Creek Parkway, they put stub roads every 2 blocks. So we plan on using the one to the east, obviously, for phases 2 and 3, but that one over the west there, if you go up there and look at it physically, it's about 30 or 40 feet up in the air. And it's just not practical to use it for anything. So we're asking that little stub be vacated, and instead of having that road coming out there and headed to the south, we have a different road stub to the south, which would be 650 East Street. And then we're currently proposing that road would connect down south Fisherwood Drive.
But that wouldn't be approved as a part of the preliminary plat. That is the preliminary plat, because vacating property is a council ordinance side that has to go a different route. So it's showing that that's their intention on the preliminary plat, but it doesn't get approved as part of the preliminary
But
plat.
we're approving the plat that for the first phase.
It's actually, no, you're approving the entire preliminary plat, but it is shown as a condition. If you there's several conditions that they will need to meet prior to submitting an application for final plat. One of them is to make sure that the water structure, the water infrastructure will provide sufficient pressure and fire flows. Another is to file a petition for the city council to consider the proposal to vacate the right of way shown on the lot and the storm detention pond on lot 63. So there's two pieces of property that they're showing that the city would vacate, but they'll have to do a formal request and go through that process. And if for some reason, that's why your approval is conditional upon that happening. If that for some reason the council did not, then the preliminary plat is not considered approved because they weren't able to meet those conditions. And then they'll have to show the water requirement as well, which is different water requirement. First was based for fire flow and pressure. The other water requirement is for the water that comes to the city. No, the water, well, it could be used for outdoor, but it's the amount of water that they feel like their subdivision would consume as far as residential use. And there's a calculation for that we use the state recommended percentages, and they will bring that to us.
So in the next phase, those conditions need to be met.
Before final plat, those conditions.
Okay. So we're ready?
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments?
None for me, thank you.
No.
So I'll entertain a motion.
Scott's making it hard to make a motion.
I'm sorry.
Let's slow down a little bit here. Take a look at the findings of fact. Findings of fact are like 2 pages long. I propose that we accept preliminary plat shoreline as outlined in our agenda tonight. Did I pass, Scarlett?
Yes, that'll be fine.
Oh, second. Keep bringing us.
Okay, so we have a motion by Brian Marble, second for approval, second by Roland Cecil. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. So the next thing on the agenda. Thank you. Is item number 4, multifamily design and site plan. The Planning Commission will consider for approval the multifamily design and site plan for homes on Parkway 3 and 4, a 26-unit multifamily development located on 220 North Spring Creek Parkway. Okay, so that is the development that's here, right next to us where the golf course is.
It is the golf course. There's one north of the golf course.
It is the golf course. And I have a letter that was submitted by Matt Harris. And I will read that. Okay, this letter submitted by Matt Harris is in conjunction with item 4 in our meeting tonight. The purpose of this letter is to support the townhome lifestyle in Providence City while also advocating for a development practice that respects the natural habitat. Townhomes provide an alternative to traditional single-family housing and offer a smaller lifestyle, smaller in space, cost, and environmental impact. There are practically no other home ownership options available to median-income households that do not result in excessive debt. Townhomes are ideal for retired people looking to downsize, families intentionally living smaller lives, and lower-income people that have no other ownership options. Higher density housing provides an economic benefit for the city while also making possible the preservation of natural areas if the city leaders make preservation a priority. On average, Americans consume so much that it would take in excess of 5 Earths to support the world's population living our lifestyle. In other words, our ecological footprint is more than 5 Earths. The choice to live in a smaller space that is more energy efficient and in close proximity to food, healthcare, and school can alone reduce one's ecological footprint by 30%. Those who live in townhomes can be proud to live more equitably than others in the world. Locally, those who live in townhomes consume less and produce less waste. And since townhome dwellers rely more heavily on human-powered transportation and public transportation, they produce less air pollution. Because they do not maintain large yards requiring herbicides, pesticides, mowing, blowing, trimming, hedging, and the like, they contribute to a quieter, healthier environment. What makes a good townhome? Certainly the answer is personal. As a person living in one, my answer is a good townhome is affordable, close to large open spaces for kids to play, close to public transportation, close to grocery stores, healthcare, and schools. The outside should be unique, with each home visually different. In some aspects, the recent developments in Providence are hitting the mark. When it comes to close proximity to open green areas and a unique exterior, the recent developments are falling short. In my opinion, the Creekside townhomes are a model development. My advocacy for smaller living is not support for a concrete jungle. It is estimated that 1 acre of natural space is home for over 400 million living beings. A stroll along the east side of the mini golf course, which contains a small stand of mature trees, is a testament to the number of birds that call the space home. Any decision to clear, cut, build, and concrete an area is one that must be made with care, recognizing its impact on people and the millions of living beings that die in the process. As such, our housing developments should be designed to preserve this and steward nature and life. While I am not familiar with all areas of Providence targeted for development, I am familiar with the mini golf course near 220 North Gateway Drive. There are beautiful mature trees along its eastern boundaries, a few along the northern boundaries, and another stand along the western boundary. The current plan is to cut them down and plant a few new ones. The pictures shown below, pictures below show the trees there now, 2 on the left, and what may be in the future 1 on the right. The one on the right is an example from Lenhart Park. The city leaders and developers must decide between an economic profit incentive and the moral and religious incentive to be stewards of the world. How many dollars should be exchanged for destruction of a bird habitat with 100 million animal lives? It is government's role to recognize so-called externalities, and it is a question that our leaders must answer implicitly. My suggestion is to seek a better balance by revising the plan and preserving the trees and greenery that already exist, stewarding nature, protecting life, preserving beauty for future residents, and making the townhomes a more desirable place to live. Matt Harris, who lives at 358 West 280 North in Providence.
How is Matt Harris involved in this? Is he the owner?
No, he's just a citizen.
Yes. Oh, okay.
And he has a concern, but what we're doing tonight is approving um, the multifamily design and site plan for the homes and on the parkway. And it is not our responsibility to tell the developers what to do with their design. So you see there the design that is proposed. Would you like to
Could I, yeah, please.
tell us your name?
I'm Jim McFarland. My brother is Danny McFarland. He has done the other phases. Just to address Matt's comments, Danny and I have actually worked on, if you can go to the one more down. We've actually worked on this, maybe it's
Maybe it's the previous.
the very first one. Oh, maybe it's not there.
Those are two I have. Sorry.
Okay. We've worked on this for a while to make sure that we actually preserve the trees, just to address that. So as much as possible, we will be preserving the trees on the southern border, which is where you would see across. Those trees would be preserved. Back here, those trees would be preserved on the eastern border, and then as much as possible around. We may have to replant, obviously, to get the buildings in, but the design, the intention, we actually had many concepts, and the intention we came back with was to preserve those trees as much as possible.
Great.
So,
Thank you.
I am happy to answer any questions. I'm a little bit of the B team. My brother's usually the starter here, and so I'm happy to do whatever I can, but Danny's out of town tonight.
Okay. Well, it's good to hear that you're going to preserve the trees. I'm always disappointed when big trees are cut down in favor of the little trees.
We just don't want them to blow down.
Yes, we don't want them to blow down. We don't have to saw them up. Brian, his mother-in-law next door lost 10 trees. 30 trees. In her backyard.
In Providence? Yeah. Yeah, we, my neighbor lost 3 trees.
So some of the units would be really hard to move into if you move into as in a long ways back to that far, south east corner. So the parking is all in the parking lot we see here, right?
The units do have 2-car garages. And so the parking in the parking lot is excess parking is required by code for the density.
So these dots between 2 of these units, the dots is actually asphalt.
Correct. Yeah. Yep. Yep. And so that was part of it. You'll also notice the small gray box in the southeast corner. That is recognition of the city's easement in that southeast corner.
And we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Always good to recognize.
You're not going to require the sidewalk of the city sidewalk. You're going to have your own on the front units there on the west side.
Yes.
Do you have anything that shows the, what a preview of one of the, what the units would look like?
Yeah, it's going to look, the finishes will essentially be the same as the other finishes.
So
I don't
they're
think
in
that,
there, I just.
yeah, this one is in color, if that's helpful at all.
No,
No, that's okay.
I've got it. I was just in the wrong spot. Sorry about that.
No problem.
We're trying not to kill more trees. So we're scrolling back and forth on our computers to look at this stuff. So
This is kind of a continuation of the building 3.
Correct. That's right. So this would be phases 3 and 4. Danny's completed phase 1, and he's active in phase 2 right now. And this would be phase 3 and 4.
A couple of things that I would like to add, and you might want to address this. There are some conditions that they will have to be, these conditions will have to be met. But, so again, you're approving it, we're not going to see this again, this is the final shot. But they didn't provide the summary and percentage of the materials used for the exterior elevation. I couldn't find it also will need to provide a grading plan. They will still have to go through some work with the city engineer and the public works director to make sure that the infrastructure and the private infrastructure is installed the way they need to. So they'll have to provide a grading plan. And then the location of the cluster mailbox. Are you using just one for the whole development, or is this one going to have its own?
There will be, the cluster mailbox will be on the Gateway Drive, per USPS requirements, so it'll be up front. Regarding the grading plan, Danny wanted me to pass along, the code doesn't specify that the grading plan be provided at this stage. We will have the grading plan once construction documents in final plat stage, and we'll have that available. Regarding the percentage of materials, we can show those. It will be the exact same as shown on the elevations and as used in the existing building, so there'll be no change.
How is the occupancy of your phase one?
It is fully
Sold out.
Sold out, yeah.
What about phase two?
I don't know. Danny would know that better than I would. I know his phase one within a very short amount of time was fully sold out. Yeah.
Okay, and they're not rentals, they are.
No, I think phase one is rental, and there may be a chance that some of these would be sold later on, but at the moment they would be kept as a rental by the development.
And what are they?
I don't know. I was not, just for full disclosure, I was not involved in phase one and two. That was Danny on his own, so I'm involved in phase 3 and 4. I'd be happy to get
And
the
those
information.
units will be sold,
Phase 3 and 4,
yes,
those units will be rented.
rented, so they're rentals for your company.
Can I make a comment on that?
Yeah.
You're calling them townhomes, they're being built as townhomes, but they are not being subdivided as townhomes. There is no, they won't have individual parcel numbers, so there are apartments that are built to a townhome standard, is really a better way to
Okay.
look at it.
Yeah, that's fair.
So how could they ever be sold later? Is that they'd have to come in?
They would have to come in and do an amendment, no, actually, it wouldn't even be an amendment, because they're not doing a plat.
Right.
They would have to come in and do a plat to subdivide.
To each individual one and then sell them off, yeah.
Which they know, Danny worked through that early on, and so,
Did he do that on his phase 1 or did he?
no, we had a little bit different, there were a couple of conflicts in the code on phase 1, and so apartments didn't work as well on that little piece.
Yeah.
And townhomes actually gave him a little bit of flexibility that the straight multifamily didn't. And so he did do townhomes. So those on phase 1 and 2 are actual, they're built like townhomes, they're recorded, they went through the subdivision process. These are not going through the subdivision process. These are built as townhomes, but they're not going to be recorded as individual townhomes. They are
So it really is an apartment building with separate,
built to townhome standards, and at some point in time, should they choose to do that, they could come in and go through the subdivision process. Just like sometimes people, that you're gonna see one at your next, planning commission meeting. It's a office building, but they decided they want to condominiumize the office building. So it came in as one building, they're gonna come back and ask you to condominium it. If that's what these gentlemen choose to do in the future, they would come in with and go through the subdivision process.
but you wouldn't just subdivide one of those. You would subdivide the whole thing in individual.
That would depend on how they want to market things. But right now, I just want it clear that we're calling them townhomes. They look like townhomes in every respect, they're built to townhome standards, but they are not being recorded as townhomes.
Which is similar to Steve Meisner's, the last building he did, which he ended up keeping as well, right?
He recorded it though,
He
just like
recorded
Danny
it.
did,
Yes, but he's.
Yeah. but he is keeping it, yeah.
Meisner Square.
North of, south of Visionary.
Right next to the,
100
between the
south.
church and 100 South.
Yeah.
Next to the six.
the
Yeah.
state center.
Next to the state center.
So this is considered multifamily medium? Or is that even a
Multifamily
question?
high.
Pardon?
It was
High.
on multifamily high, and that rezone took place a while ago. When you changed the zone a little while ago. And then they came in with their
From
design.
commercial.
So where will you be relocating the golf course?
That's a really good question. Go ahead and answer that one.
There have been questions though. People will visit.
You know, the open space that the visionary was describing earlier tonight, we'll move it over there into other side space.
Let them deal with it.
Yeah.
That's for the park.
Yeah, yeah.
Mary.
Townhome construction.
It has nothing to do with city.
No, correct.
Construction standards, there is not a common wall between units. There's actually an airspace, and I watched it. So that's townhome standards. So they actually, they each have their own wall, so one neighbor can't hear the other neighbor, like you would in the park.
That's my understanding. That's how you feel it's still, right?
Yeah.
So in reality, they're separate buildings.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, I do have a question for you.
Yes.
So that, whether on dollars that in the office.
That is my brother's office. He and I, we work together on real estate. That is Danny's new civil solutions office. But we actually do different things outside of real estate. So he's a civil engineer and I'm involved in finance. So I do something different. But we come together on real estate. He's the boss though. You would definitely want me to make that clear.
Must be the older brother.
Yes.
I have a wife to ask questions, the second story is going up like this. I will find out tonight from Denver.
Yeah, that will be his building.
That's two-story?
Yes, it is.
I think it was originally one story. I thought it was two.
It's two-story now.
So it's on the corner by the roundabout.
It's up there or going up.
I believe it's two-story.
The second story is going up.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's two-story. Yeah,
Thank you, Jimmy.
yeah.
Thank you. Okay, if there are no more questions, comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve the multi-family design and site plan for homes on Parkway 2, 3, and 4, 26 unit multi-family development located at 220 North Spring Creek Parkway.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Brian Marble, motion by Roland Cecil, chair.
This is one though, I really do think this one is important to acknowledge the conditions, because those are important conditions.
Okay,
Sorry,
Not that all conditions aren't, but certain steps, they're more important to
we need to
acknowledge.
make sure that those are in there.
I didn't have the condition of fact to away from that. Sorry.
We will get those.
Would you like to amend your motion?
Be able to read. And subject to the conditions as provided by Scarlett earlier.
Will that do?
That works.
I was gonna say, I didn't think that was included in our package. Okay, so we have an amended motion.
Second. I'll second the motion
With the amendment,
with the amendment. Findings of that.
okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you all for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Okay, we have, item number 5, Planning Commission bylaws. The Planning Commission will consider for a recommendation to the City Council proposed amendment to the Planning Commission bylaws, section 3.2, allowing the chair to serve consecutive terms. We discussed this at length last time. So I'll entertain a motion.
And we are doing this, saying that the chair can serve multiple.
So last time we voted, we can vote to approve a new chair until we change this.
No, you do have a little catch-all clause in your bylaws that if the commission feels like you need to suspend,
So we did suspend them. Joe was here. And we
you
did that.
can suspend, and then you went ahead with your vote. But you all felt like it was something that should be changed, and so
Going forward.
going forward, you talked about it, and as you can see, it used to read, a chair may not succeed him or herself as chair of the commission. And you also talked about how many terms you thought somebody could serve. It now just says a chair may serve no more than 3 consecutive terms. So now,
Which are 2-year terms,
no, 1 year.
1 year. Oh, that's right, because you have to be elected every time.
And so there's a difference between the chair term and a planning commission member term. You're appointed to the planning commission for a 3-year term, and you're elected to chair
For a 1-year term.
1 year.
Okay. Okay, did someone make a motion?
I propose that we accept changes to the planning commission bylaws, and especially 3.2, allowing the chair to serve consecutive terms.
Do you have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, Brian Marvel made the motion.
I think we need to say that we're making this recommendation to the city council to this change.
Yes, because they
Oh,
approve
yes,
it by
yes, they're the
resolution.
ones that have to do it. Yep.
All right, we need an amended motion.
I'll amend the motion that the city council needs to propose this before it becomes law.
Well, we are recommending it to the City Council.
We're recommending it to the city council.
Okay. Second?
And I'll second the amended
Okay,
motion.
second by Michael. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We don't have any study items. I do want to report that I went to the committee for a variance about the subject we talked about, the setback on the side of my little house. And we found out, the attorney instructed those of us that were there about what qualifies for a variance. And I didn't even qualify for the variance. And I recommended that we get that training. So we need to get that set up so that we can have training on what that is before we tell somebody that we're recommending that they go for a variance. Carla, do you have any thoughts on that?
We will work with the city attorney. He put together a really nice PowerPoint that explains the steps of a variance. I think it's important, though, for everybody to understand, when somebody comes in and talks to staff, staff does not have any, well, occasionally, staff does have decision-making power, like on a building permit or a zoning permit, things like that. But when it comes to someone wanting a variance, we can advise, we can show them the state code, we can say, you have to meet all 5 of these. But we can't really, and we can even say something we feel it would be a challenge for you to do that, but it is not staff's place to say, to make a land use decision and say, this does not meet the variance, because that's just not the way we're set up to do.
So if people insist
Yes,
on going,
And
then
you-
they
and
can
you-
go.
And you would advise them to look into the variance process.
yes, yeah, we explain the process, we explain, we don't go so far as to interpret, because we're not attorneys, but we do explain the state code. We show them where it is. In fact, it's right on the application form that they have to fill out. And so we try and inform people, but I know sometimes people get frustrated and say, well, why did you even let go to the variance if you didn't think it would? It's really not our place to share our opinion on that at this point.
Which is what I said. Why did you even let me go?
One item, it was a public meeting. We do have it on our YouTube channel, and it would be worth your time to look at.
The meeting of the.
Of the
Yes.
variance committee.
It's on our YouTube channel. You can go to our website, has a little YouTube icon at the top of the website. Go right there, you'll find it pretty easy. But we do publish all of our public meetings onto our YouTube channel.
But it was very well, it was a good presentation. I thought it was very informative and easy to follow and to look at the steps and determine for yourself whether or not you qualify.
Where this body talked about it, it would be very beneficial for you to watch that. I think.
Yeah.
Worth your time.
Okay, no other items on our agenda. I'll entertain a motion to.
Move to close this meeting.
Second it.
Okay, motion by Rowan Cecil, second by Brian